Alright everyone, I discussed this in brief on my live stream the other day, but I really wanted to talk about it again because it's fucking hilarious, which is Elon Musk, link in the description to his particular post, telling the European Union basically to go fuck itself. This is exactly what we need from the US-based internet. Like the keys of the internet never should have been given to the international community. They should have remained in US hands. Because we've got a First Amendment, and it just makes sense. Elon Musk is one of the only bigwigs of society within like the mainline tech world that seems to have a general appreciation for free expression. I suspect that there's a reason for this. It's probably because of his origin in South Africa, an extremely oppressive nation. It's been run by communists for an extended period of time. Free expression there is sort of tamped down on and tends to be rather authoritarian. I suspect that his upbringing as being the child of a rich man, but not himself having really any wealth and having to start from scratch because his father wasn't giving him any real material support, and possibly his relationships have all sort of formed themselves into his mentality, sort of folded into it. I suspect that to be the case, and I can respect that. Is it perfect? No. Like, for instance, I think the bonus holes are still banned on Twitter. They shouldn't be. I would personally vouch for them. There have been other bans as well, but for the most part, the site has become much more functional, other than the DM system that can take a while to load, and everything's fine. Telling the European Union to fuck itself because they say, well, if you interview Donald Trump, you're going to have to fight disinformation by live fact-checking and shit like that. And he's like, no, I don't. It's my fucking site. Why the hell would I have to do that? What are you going to do about it, by the way? Are you going to fine him? Yeah, Elon Musk, he lacks for cash. Dude, he's worth more than most European nations. Just to be clear. He doesn't give a shit. You can't imprison him because he's not over there in the EU. You can't really punish him by fining him. You could geo-block Twitter, but then people would just be instructed on how to use VPNs and, call it a day. Your censorship is actually fairly toothless when you really think about it. If you're physically in Europe, then the gendarme might come up to your door and break it down and drag you off because you made a mean tweet. If you're in the United States, reciprocity under the law is only involved when you have something that would be actually legally actionable in the United States. Or under the state law, potentially. I don't know about that part. Have to ask a lawyer about that. Well, mean tweets are legal in the United States. Musk isn't threatening anyone. He's posting a meme saying to the EU, basically, fuck yourselves. I admire that. We need more shit posting online. And imagine that you're Elon Musk. You're worth like, what, $100 billion or some crazy amount like that. Don't you want to have a little bit of fun once in a while? You own the fucking platform. You can post whatever the hell you want. I love it when people try to community note Elon Musk posts. And it's like, you're fighting a losing battle, my dude. He owns the platform, number one, and number two, most of it is like petulant bullshit, like nitpicking, and people should actually be banned from using community notes if they do this because it's like, and he posted an opinion. Personal opinions are protected speech. You're allowed to give your opinion about something. In my opinion, aliens probably exist, and then they'll try to fact check it saying there is no evidence of alien life. Who cares? That's a personal opinion. You're not stating it as a fact. Even if they state it as a fact, it doesn't need to be fact-checked anyway. So I thought this was funny. This is what we need more of. Now, I'm Team New Tech, so I use Rumble and BitChute and sites like that, Minds.com, I use Gab and so forth, and I like that more. But as far as the mainline tech sites do go, and it's very, very strange that it would be Twitter, X is the best of them. So Facebook is massively censorious. Zuckerberg, he constantly tries to fence straddle. Google has been highly censorious. We see the manner in which their algorithms work, for example. The company ain't standing up to Europe. They get fined sometimes because they breach some data law, from the EU, but they just absorb the cost. Google is worth a lot of money as well. etc., etc., etc. Certainly places like, Meta in general, again with Instagram, there's censorship there. There's censorship all over the internet. This was not a thing like 10 years ago, by the way. Some people don't even remember the internet from how it was when it was Wild West mode. That sort of ends around 2015, which is, by the way, totally coincidental, of course. That's when the Wild West internet, as it had been, became highly censorious. Back in the day, for example, YouTube was fucking loaded with porn. Was it allowed? No. Was it overlooked? Yeah. Although in the early days, if you had like a video of people kissing, that was actually against you. You get taken down for that. Meanwhile, if you said the hard R, nobody had a problem with it. It was very, very strange the way YouTube worked in its first few years. I can remember this fondly. It's the reason why Tourette's guy didn't get them banned despite using multiple slurs. They're still there somehow. They've been overlaid. I guess because of the lapse in uploads, YouTube looks the other way. The stuff is still there. It's just censorship is totally out of control. Europe is leading the charge for that censorship. It doesn't matter if China says, please take this video down. Nobody cares. What are you going to do? People in China can't even access our site. What leverage do you have? Oh, you're trying to fine us. Well, send a letter. We'll respond in kind. We'll charge you $1 million for the couple of people in your country that used a VPN or something like that. Europe, though, is different because those countries are in NATO. They're part of the Western sphere, and so it's more meaningful. And the market is very, very large. Of course, China has more of an insular market. Google was trying to use like their was it the Dragon browser or something like that? They were developing a browser for China, and I think they ended up doing that in the end, despite going back on it for a while due to public pressure, to allow the Chinese government to spy on people's search histories and stuff like that. Meanwhile, with Europe, it's a different story. Now, some European Union countries are more censored than others. A lot of it is still local. It's the same as within the United States. You realize that most of the legalese you have to wade through is state level, state and municipal, local regulations, state taxes, and shit like that. Most of it, under the 10th Amendment, is not actually federal at all, and if it is, it's bureaucratic in nature, generally speaking. Federal government in and of itself ain't abusing you. It's the bureaucrats that they constantly spawn like cancers that are abusing you. Likewise, in Europe, in some countries it's better than others. Like in the Netherlands, you generally have free speech. Free expression is... The Dutch are not very politically correct people. This is why they booted, the dude out of Eurovision. I feel that they probably did that for a reason. Basically, they're trying to smack the Dutch around for still having Zwarte Piet of other things. You have some degree of free expression if you're in Eastern Europe, although you don't want to criticize government officials too much. That's probably a bad idea. Then you have nations like France where you don't really have any free expression at all. And certainly if you go over to the UK, and they have influence too, there's no such thing as free speech there. They never invented it. It does not exist. You're allowed to say what the government says is permissible and or what the local authorities happen to deem permissible at any time and pay your license. You gotta pay your free speech license. And you gotta get a license to get the license too, so it becomes a real big problem. But Elon Musk telling the European Union to fuck itself is pretty good. I liked that. That's about all. Peace out.